Welcome everyone. You're at the Line Judge training. My name is Wendy Daily. We have some really outstanding presenters today, and the theme is train the trainers. So everything that we're going to talk about today with all the presenters has something to do with training. All of you are line judges, but also at some point in time, either you are training other line judges or you're going to be training line judges. Because you could be a Division I line judge and the next day you're working a jinx with a brand new line judge person that they may be pulled off the stand for all we know, that or off the bleachers. That happens. So you're going to be a teacher at some point somewhere down the road. And so what we want to do today is give you information that will help you as an official, but also help you train those that are also coming up as well. So it's a multitude of information today. I'm going to start, and I've chosen the subject outside the box thinking. Ways to enhance training using technology. Today's technology, we're fortunate because we're in a generation now, we have a lot more technology. For those that were in the room yesterday, I said a little bit about my story about coming up as I came up as a basketball official, so I don't have volleyball experience. And I'm not here to talk necessarily about, my experience in volleyball because I don't have that. And so that's just the reality is. But what I do have is 25 years of Division I basketball experience. And I've been through the systems and I know how the system works. And I know a lot about technology and working with breaking down plays, looking at high probability plays, getting myself in the right position, and that same information also can carry over into volleyball. And those who have done multiple sports, once you're an official, you're always an official. Because once you understand where to look and you move sports, you can figure it out. And so I'm taking my 25-year experience in Division I and bringing it into the volleyball realm. And so there's a lot of very similarities. And for me, somebody like myself who's never done volleyball, never even watched the game, like never even in my 25 years of basketball did I even think to watch a volleyball game. But once I got on the floor, I realized there are a lot more similarities than I thought. I never even gave it any consideration. And so today, my information is sharing about bringing some of that basketball experience into the volleyball experience, and some of the experience that I have had. And so, and in the generation today, the younger generation, they're all about technology, so it kind of fits in nicely. Probably the people that have the most challenge with technology is the people that have been around for a long time. They're not used to having all the, the CRS reviews now and different accountability. That's challenging and that's changing. And so that's where they'd be more challenged in the technology part of it. So a little bit about what's going to happen. The advantages of technology in today's game. We have instant replays now. We have challenges. This is related to volleyball. We have challenges now. It allows for immediate correction. We're going to reduce some of the human error, and by that, because we have the immediate correction with serious challenges, it's now changing the outcome of games. I mean, it's that significant. We're changing the outcome of the games. These coaches, their jobs are on the line, whether they win or lose. They depend on us getting it right. And so we've now brought in the technology part to help us get it right, to reduce the amount of human error. And there are so many other advantages from the games aspect. Now from the referee and official, I'm going to call everybody a referee because that's just what I'm used to. So everybody's a referee, whether you're a line judge or one or two, we're just referees. It changes the accountability because now at any point in any time, you can go on and watch any game. So we're always going to be on television, especially for Division I, you're always going to be on some. It's either ESPN, Plus or whatever, it's out there. There's no longer you can't hide. You do a game and make a mistake and go, well, thank God nobody saw that, off before you go to your next game. You can't do that now because it's so, everybody can see that. It allows now, the technology allows for tools for us to train. We now get to see game tapes, instant game tapes. You get home, by the time you get home, you go on TV and there's your game. You can replay it right there and watch it again instantly. You don't have to wait and send an envelope to try to get to school to send you a copy of your game tape now. We don't have that anymore. We have the instant access to make immediate corrections. We have instant feedback. CRS gives us instant feedback, we're right or wrong. I mean, that's as instant as it gets, basically. And it also allows for increased self-evaluation. And I'll spend a lot more time talking about that today. And also, it helps us increase the accuracy in our calls because when you're standing there and you have to get it right and go to the CRS review and stand there, you want to get it right because you don't want to be standing there on the CRS review. Yeah. So, as an official, how to utilize the advantages of technology, you have to understand statistics. You have to learn to self-evaluate. You learn to break down plays, discuss plays with other people. increase your learning, review game tapes, increase online training, and become a student of the game. These are just 7 ways. There's many more. These are just 7 ways to utilize your technology. So I'm going to talk statistics, because everything to me starts with statistics, which is why this started is when I got hired into Division I volleyball. So I didn't know what was the standard. Like I was like, okay, well, I got a contract, but that just means I got a contract. But now I know where are my expectations. So I wanted to know what is considered normal human error, and maybe excessive human error. And so I'm like, so at least I have a starting point to where from that point then I can gauge whether I'm getting better or worse, what am I missing, not missing. I needed a starting point. So I looked at the statistics. And I put this question out to you because I ask a lot of officials this, and they don't know the answer, is do you know where your performance stands in relation to line judge national statistics? Now, Joan sends out an email, and I don't know if anybody beyond the pack gets it, but it's the statistics. I mean, it's a chart that has Excel spreadsheets with numbers. It just goes on forever. Has anybody just actually opened it up and looked at it? There's a lot of good information in there, and I think that's just like a gold mine, because we never got that in basketball. She actually gives it to you. And I'm like, that's like handing it on a platter, basically. So what I did is I looked at those statistics, and then I just consolidated and pulled out what I wanted to pull out that I needed to know what would be what was important to me. And so I wanted to know if I was on par with the national average, was I below, was I above? I needed a starting point, and I needed to know what was that starting point, because if you don't have a starting point, then it's just in the air, and then you don't hold yourself accountable to some level if you don't have a starting point. And so I created a starting point by pulling out the stats that Joe gave you. These aren't stats I made up. These are just from the sheets that she sent, and I just extrapolated the information. And I only dealt with in and out calls because I believe touches are a responsibility of more than just line officials. The R1 and R2 have responsibility with touches. So I said, okay, and for the sake of time, let's just deal strictly with in and out calls. So I pulled out the national stats for in and out calls because I just was curious. So and this is in 2001, there was 1,697 in and out challenges. That's a lot of challenges. To me, I find it a lot, but again, I have nothing to compare it to. Okay, so I just thought the number was big. So in that, on a national average, if you get called up and you get challenged, there's a 38% chance that your call is going to get reversed. That's national statistics. That's the national statistics. And I said, okay, well now I was hired by the PAC. I'm like, okay, what are their expectations? Because if this is national, I would think it's probably going to be a little bit lower. That's just a perception from working basketball in Pac-12. So I looked at that and pulled that information out. And so the statistics for the PAC is that it's 32%. And I said, well, what's the comparison to another conference that I may have worked for? So what I did is I took all 5 conferences that I worked for and broke down the stats so I can see what the expectations were for my starting point. And so I just happened to pull in Mountain West. It was a 41% that it's going to get reversed. So I pulled up these stats and said, this is my starting point. This is my starting point. I know that if I'm going to get challenged 10 times to meet the national standard, 4 times if I get reversed 4 times, that's probably pretty acceptable as part of human error, and I would meet that basic standard. If I get challenged 10 times and 8 of my calls are reversed, I'm at 80% that my calls are being reversed. To me, that I'm above now national standard. I've exceeded what they consider average. So then that tells me what I need to work on. Because if you think you can, this is similar to that, if you think you can keep your contracts and be at a point where that every time you get challenged, 80% of your challenges are going to get reversed, you shouldn't think you're going to keep having a job. I mean, to me, that's the reality of the situation. And if you work at a conference and one of these other conferences and you think you want to get into a higher level conference, the question is, what are your stats? That's a dialogue conversation. You know, if you want to get in the Pac-12, that'd be a dialogue conversation I'd be having with Joan. Like, if she's considering you, I'm like, well, you know what? I started here, and these are my stats now. You know, I'm getting challenged, but I'm not losing my challenges. I feel I'm getting better. So that's why stats matter. They matter. But the problem is, a lot of it is most people don't go past that. They read and go, okay, that's the stats. But now what do you do with that information? And so, did you know as a line judge, and the only reason I know this is because the very first time that, you know, I got my national ready to define and all, until you get on the floor and no one really talks to you about the CRS review. I think they say, okay, you might get CRS review. You know, the first time I'm watching everybody walking, so I stand. And the feeling I had that when I stood there and my call was reversed, at that moment my life changed when I thought about volleyball. Because I stood there and said, I don't like this feeling. And I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be in this spot anymore. I want to be in my corner, but I don't want my lines challenged. And so at that point in time, because it was like, okay, in, out, you know, it was like, I didn't analyze plays. I knew the stats, but I didn't analyze plays. So if you don't have CRS, you could be calling 50 calls, you're like in, out, and you're just like coming out like, that was a good game, that was a good game. But who's challenging you? No one's challenging you, because then you have to accept whatever you have, because there's no video to challenge you to say, no, that you're wrong. Until you get to Division I and you got CRS, and so then you're standing there, and then you have to deal with all of the emotions that come with that. Then when you just feel like, oh my God, now I gotta walk back to my corner. What do I do with my head held high and not lose myself as I'm standing there, so annoyed that I missed something that I was damn sure that I was correct on that call, but I wasn't. So then that changed my perception of, okay, I'm going to treat this like I did in basketball, which is, I need to look at that play. I mean, first I'll go back to that video and figure out what did I do that was wrong, that I thought I was so right, but now I am not, clearly not right. Then I need to go back and reanalyze that play. Because now my stats are going down. You know, and I was like, I'm not standing here if I can help it. I was standing here as what's considered average, but I'm not going to be consistently up here. So it changed my whole thinking about looking at plays. And I tried to figure out what is I'm going to do to make sure I don't end up here again. So 81% of any challenges that are out there, we are a part of as a line judge. That includes both in and out and touches. So when you see it, all of a sudden you see that we're having a challenge, 81% likelihood it's going to be involved with us. I mean, look at that game that had 10 challenges they were just talking about yesterday. Oh my God, I've had to walk up there 10 times. I wouldn't want to be a part. That's a lot to do. That's a lot of psyche to do in a game. We always forget about that psyche part, but that's a lot of the psyche part to do in that game. So 81%, I'm not even going to talk about touches, because to me, touches are a whole other animal to deal with. I'm just talking about in and out. But you're going to have to walk up there. So there's 81% likelihood on a challenge, we're going to be involved in it. And when it comes to touches, the question I always have is, if touches are the #1 national challenge is contact with the ball. It's 46% of the challenges out there are contacting the touches. And I said, well, how much training is there out there regarding to teach me? I want to be better. How much teaching is out there on that? And when I went and looked through all the online stuff for advanced, talking about how to deal with touches, like projection, direction, there was nothing out there. There's nothing out. It's basically, you know, my mentor would go, when you see a touch, call it. When you don't see it, you don't call it. Well, it's not that, in my opinion, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. So 81% we're going to be involved in challenges. And the outcome overall on national, on the outcome, 42% are going to be reversed. That's a lot of reversal. So almost 50%, when you stand up there, the challenges are going to be reversed. Okay, these are ways to reducing CRS reviews, which is breaking down plays, better understanding of high probability officiating, self-evaluation, which is finding patterns, and reviewing game tape. This is what I do as a basketball, this is what I do as a volleyball. Now, the difference between the basketball and volleyball is, to me, volleyball is a three-dimensional sport, because you have the players are moving, the ball's moving, but really the part of the referee as a line judge, it's mainly your head and your eyes. You do have the pancakes and you have to move, so but the position is mainly a static position. Whereas in basketball, you have the same thing, which is the players moving, balls moving, head and eyes are moving, but now the referee moves too. So now you've added a whole other element. So actually we can actually really move and look for angles. Whereas in volleyball, in line judging, you're really confined to that corner. So you have to find those angles of everything based on a small block and small position. Unless it's a pancake, then you can move up and try to get that angle. But the rest of it, you're done from a corner, so you're really quite stationary in your head. So to learn to referee high probability, and I'm going to give you an example. In a basketball play, and I have 350 officials that I work with in basketball. So as a basketball referee, I'm going to be officiating a play. Let's just say a play is coming down, for those who maybe don't, they're just coming down towards the people going towards the basket. And I'm going to have to referee this play that's coming. What I'm going to do is we use a terminology, referee what's going to get you in trouble. That's what we do. We referee what's going to get you in trouble. We don't referee the peripheral stuff that's not going to get us in trouble. But we're going to hone in on what's going to get us in trouble. So I'm going to referee a play. So as the play is coming down, I'm in my mind already scanning. I'm scanning all my options here. And this all happens in split-second time stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, we have an arc in the basketball game. If her foot's in that arc, I have 3 different options. If her foot's outside that arc, I have 3 different other options. And so as I'm watching this play develop, it's coming towards me, it's my play, it's coming. I'm going, she's in. As I'm telling myself it's in, she's in, I know what rules I'm going to apply and what my 3 options are. And the moment that she steps out, I have to rethink, now it's going to another. It's another 3 different rules. So by the time that contact happens, I already know what my options are. I've eliminated 6 to 3. I know what they are. And so as soon as that contact happens, based on when she moves or whatever, immediately the contact happens, I have a play. Immediately, I know exactly what I have. Because I accepted the play and I already looked at the highest probability problem of that play. What's going to get me in trouble? And I'm prepared to referee that play. And you can do the same thing with volleyball. So I took that same notion of what happens in basketball when we look at high probability. How do we do it in volleyball? And so, but you have to understand statistics first in order to know what high probability is. And then you've got to learn to search visually for the most relevant information. Like in that play, as I'm watching this play, there's people running in front of me. It's like, but they're peripheral to me. They're running in front of me is not going to get me in trouble. My focus is what's going to happen when that contact happens. And so I can ignore that peripheral stuff and get to the part that's actually going to get me in trouble, the part that I actually have to referee. So you have to be able to scan, look at that. It's like that play we saw yesterday where it was ruled out, but it's actually in because there was a potential touch. That was a distraction. I mean, you have to watch it to a certain degree, but that's one of those ones where you're visually scanning and going, I've got my line, but I've got this person right in front of me who could potentially hinder me from looking at my line. It's being knowledgeable enough to know you've got some hindrance, there's things around that you have to be aware of. So you have to be able to visually scan at all times, all plays. And as you get better in doing this, your body eventually becomes muscle memory. You see stuff and you know exactly where to move and where to go. But as you're learning it, you have to think about it. You have to think, okay, ball placement, okay, this is pretend where it's going. So you have to do a lot of thinking. And it takes a lot of effort and work to figure out high probability, but as you do it over and over and over again, your body just moves. It'll just go in that exactly direction. Okay, and you have to be able to do that at all times. So this is an example for volleyball. Strong side attack, basic. These are percentages. I didn't make up these percentages. These are the percentages. So when they're hitting strong side attack, 50% of the balls are coming down towards the baseline. 31% are going out to the sideline, and 19% are coming to the are on the side and to the sideline. I'm going to call this on the side. Yeah, sorry, I don't even know volleyball terminology really well. I just know about this two lines.
19% is in the one corner, which is down the line.
Down the line.
50% is in the 6 zone. It depends if they're going to play rotational or perimeter. Depends where they're going to.
Yeah, I just have 2 lines. That's how I see it. Okay. So in this play, high probability is where? Yeah, it's in this area. It's the high probability. So my focus, my general focus is going to the high probability so I can accept the play in the high probability. My external peripheral focus is on that 19% for that potential corner shot. But I'm going to position myself, when I see that play, I'm going to position myself to referee the highest probability play first. Because everything can't be high probability. The whole sport can't be high probability. Because what happens is if everything's high probability, you start chasing plays and then you start following balls. And when you're following balls, you make decisions once balls make contact. As opposed to when you're already in the position, your eyes are already in the head's already in the position where the ball contacts the floor, you have been prepared for it. And now you make a decision based on what you saw, not what you chased. Because once you chase the ball's got speed, and that's how most time we make errors. It's because we're chasing the ball. Another high probability. I got burned on this one, and this was one that I had no idea. Back row attacks. Back row attacks are coming to the baseline. So when I see that, I didn't notice that first. But when the back row attack happens, I'm immediately going to my baseline. I'm positioning myself because I know it's coming to the baseline. I'm not even worried about my sideline. If it comes to the sideline, great, I'll just drop my chin and get there, but 95% of the shot is gonna come to that baseline. So as the ball's being set up, I already know I'm getting inside, my head's getting inside, and this ball generally has speed and velocity coming to it. Lots of speed and velocity. So I'm already prepared and ready for it. So I'm repositioning before the contact even happens because I see where they're setting the ball. So I'm already getting myself prepared. I'm going for high probability. Sideline stuff, not even worried about it at that point. I'm going right to where the high probability. It may go to the sideline, but I also know that that's all, but I'm refereeing that peripheral. I'm not refereeing that as my focus, okay? Ball contact, the ball's outside the antenna. There is no way she's gonna be able to hit it down the sideline. There's no way. Based on probability, it's not gonna happen. So what am I doing? I'm already in position knowing that's gonna come probably in that corner and on that sideline. I've already repositioned myself completely before that play even makes contact. Because I see where the ball is. So I'm looking for high probability. I'm positioning myself for high probability. Create your own self-evaluation. This is really big. You have to be able to, when you create your self-evaluation and when you create yourself charts, because we will forget. You'll go, oh, that game, yeah, I was challenged, yeah. And then you may have 12 games that day, that week. And then you're gonna forget that you had 4, 5, 6, 7 different challenges. But if you keep a record of it, and then you go back, and when you go back, you look for patterns. And when you find patterns is what's identified, you'll find consistencies, inconsistencies. When you find patterns. So when you keep stats, you want to keep stats to look for patterns. This is all about getting better. This is not all about, oh, I did that really well. You want to identify your problems, because what you do well, you do well. That's not going to get you in trouble. What you don't do well is what gets you in trouble. So what you're doing is looking for things you don't do well. And on this play, this is just a sample one, but truly, I know for me that when the ball comes down the line directly at me, it is not natural for me to put my head in front of the ball. I'm sorry, I have a natural tendency to pull back just because I'm gonna get hit in the face. But every time I pull back, what happens is I take my eyes move from inside to outside. And I recognize that. Once I saw it on video and I saw that they are challenged on that play twice in the game. And I was like, okay, what am I doing that they're challenging me? What must look odd in this play? And so when I figured it out, so for me, until I get my muscle memory to know that I can be comfortable enough standing there and put my face basically in front of it, I extra step in, so that when I pull back, when it comes to my face, my head and eyes are still on the inside line and not the outside. So I have the position adjust that works for me. You've got to do what works for you. So we look for patterns, identifying patterns. How to incorporate it when you're teaching? Teach your participants to keep stats. And it may not be CRS stats, it may be what play made you uncomfortable and mark it down. What play made you uncomfortable, mark it down. It may be the sideline, it may be every time it comes to the baseline, it may be on a jump serve. It doesn't have to be something that they have a video of that's a CRS review. Start talking about uncomfortability-ness, because uncomfortability-ness means that you are not ready for the play or something happened in that play that made you realize you don't have all the information. And if they see patterns of that, then that may be something enough information for you to have, for them to help them. Introduce the concept of high probability. Introduce game tape review. From junior college on, every single game is game taped. You can get the game tapes everywhere. Encourage certification programs, basic certifications, national certifications, digital trainings. Encourage everybody to become a student of the game. Being a student of the game, it's not just showing up at your game. It's really doing the extra steps. It's working hard, it's paying attention to the little things that will vault you to the next level. Sometimes it's a matter of just the little things. Once you understand high probability, you may see the results of that if you can understand that concept. So teach everybody to be a student of the game, because when you do that, that's when the excel starts to really happen. Out of the box learning, to learn something new, you need to try new things and not be afraid to be wrong. I am the first person that will get out there and try it. And if I get it wrong, great, now I know it didn't work, I'll go to the next thing. That's how you get better. You know, the best way to learn is when you're standing there on that CRS review and you get it wrong, you're not gonna go back there and do it exactly the same way, because you're gonna end up in the exact same spot again and doing the same uncomfortable feeling again. Errors teach you, and you will want to make a correction much quicker when you make an error. So you have to take risks. Take calculated risks. I take calculated risks in my junior college games all the time when I'm trying to learn something new. That's the best place. You know, Division I in a Pac-12 game, I'm not taking risks. I'm doing exactly what I've been trained to do. I'm not going to take, those aren't the place to take the risks. Those are the place to learn new things. You take the lower levels to practice and learn that, perfect that, and then you take that information and apply it to the higher level stuff. But you have to take risks at some place, sometime. Because when you become complacent, if you're happy where you're at, then that's great. But complacency stops you from learning and trying to take yourself to the next level. And you should only be competing with yourself. If I'm at 42% this year, I'm going to be at 33 next year. Because I can't compete with anybody else because everybody else is in a different situation. So be your own strongest competitor. That's how you get better. So, thank you everybody.
All right, hello. My name is Rachel Jensen. I am a line judge from Southern California on the men's and women's side. On the women's side, I'm in the Pac-12 Big West and the UCC. I've been doing that for quite some time now. But I still do JC lines. I still do high school lines when they need it. So I've had the immense fortune to line judge some immensely fantastic matches with some really excellent partners. I've been honored and lucky to do the men's and women's Final Four. And this season I had a men's JC semifinal for our area. And I was working with a line judge, and this was her first big match. And about 15 minutes before the match, she came up to me and she's like, I am so nervous and I don't know what to do. And I kind of realized that this was a trend this season where I was working with a lot of younger officials, up and coming officials, and it didn't matter if it was a junior college match, if it was going to be their first CRS Division I match. I had a lot of officials like, I don't know what to do if this happens. And it had a lot to do with nerves, it had a lot to do with anxiety, it had a lot to do with the stress of being a line judge, and sometimes just being official. And some of them had been directed towards me, and they didn't believe it when other referees were like, oh no, Rachel gets nervous, like go talk to her about this. They were like, no, does not happen, they're lying. And I was like, no. When this 15 minutes before the match, I was like, I'm so nervous, what do I do? I was like, you know what, I get it. I get nervous. I am a little ball of anxiety and stress sometimes. I completely understand what you're going through, and we kind of talked through some different strategies. But we are veteran line judges. We are kind of the role models for so many. People are looking towards us, and we look calm, cool, and collected, even if internally we're screaming. And so the goal of this presentation is kind of to create a toolbox. Even if you're not somebody who gets nervous, it's creating that toolbox of methods and coping strategies to deal with the anxiety and nerves. I work as a high school teacher, predominantly 11th grade, and I work in my other careers with 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and the amount of anxiety and stress that they are feeling and bringing with them is immense. So being able to, even if you're not somebody who's like, you don't get nervous for these kinds of things, having those strategies, you're like, oh, I don't feel that way, but I know who does feel that way, and this is what they do to help circumvent that, can be really helpful as we go forward. So this is that, we're going to go through kind of the before, during, and after the match with some questions about how you get in the right mindset, because it starts before we walk into that gym. A lot of us are coming from other jobs, we're traveling. How are we getting into that right mindset? How are we focusing before the match, particularly a big match? Because 15 minutes before, you might have that line judge who comes to you and is like, I'm so nervous, what do I do with myself? And we have our different routines. We are creatures of habit sometimes. So you can type directly into your phone about that question. So how do you get into the right mindset, even before the match starts? So lots of different ways that we all kind of get in that right zone. I will admit I'm the person who, I have a very distinct routine that starts with the fact that I wear 3 shirts, and 3 shirts only, for when I travel. This is day 1 shirt. Purple collar every time. I then have this shirt in the exact same color, the exact same shirt in black that I always wear. So I am a creature of habit, routine. That is one less decision I have to make.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna make a ton of decisions on this corner, I'm going to reduce everything. A lot of us seem to be creatures of habit. Music is always a big one. I am not personally a music listener, I am the routine, like, this is what I have to do when I walk in the gym, this is what I'm gonna do with myself before I get on that corner, that mental checklist. So breathing seems to be a common theme as well. So once we're on that corner, you've reached it, you're like, yes, I'm here, I've got my flag. It becomes a question of how do we stay focused going to the match. So when I was talking to this line judge 15 minutes before, I was like, hey, there's a lot of things I can't control. Volleyball is going to happen today. Someone is going to win, someone is going to lose. There are some things I can control, and I can control my signals. I can control my technique. I can control my physicality in this match, and so I'm going to stick to my training. I know how to call an in signal. I know how to make an out signal, and I'm going to do the best possible that I can. And these guys are going to play volleyball, and we'll see what happens. But in this moment, that's going to help me focus, is that at the end of the day, I know that this is the thing I can control. But maintaining focus during the match can be hard, especially as you get into those 4, 5 set matches where it's 3 hours later and you're in fifth set and it's 12-12 and you're like, oh geez, let's keep our focus. So in general, during that match, how do you maintain focus? How are you staying engaged? What techniques or methods are you dealing with that stress, those crowds? You missed that call, or you think you missed that call, or you're in your brain going like, I think I missed that call. A lot of deep breathing. Sometimes taking a moment to kind of reshift, refresh, refocus. Ball setter, ball hitter. A lot of that relaxing between plays, not being quite so uptight. I have to remind myself to relax my shoulders. How do you stay focused when it's a matter of CRS? This is a unique problem that we have to handle where in-out touch gets challenged a lot. We're involved in this as line judges, as Wendy said, good majority of the time. How are we handling that stress? So how are you recentering, especially if you get overruled? That is a huge question I get from new officials coming into their first CRS match. What do I do if I get overruled? What happens? Once you have gotten through your match and you have all of that energy, there's so much going through you at one time, how are you relieving that stress or that anxiety? Did the match go well? That depends.
Was it 10 challenge?
Being honest about sometimes our matches go well, sometimes they don't go well. I was like,
That was Jimmy John's. That's all there is.
That's it. That's my idea. 1 or 3. 1, 3.
Do you get to pick the color, or do they tell you what color
Oh,
you
it
get?
depends on the week. Let's get the end of the season.
You only get the yellows, because that's everybody wants the yellow one.
no. We all kind of take things in different ways, and some of you may have different ways of handling nerves, stress, anxiety as a line judge. Yes, I did that. Desperately want to go climb in a hole. Big fan of that one. But being able to kind of acknowledge sometimes that we too get stress, anxiety, and how do we handle it and cope with it? Because we're on TV sometimes, we're in big situations, and we look calm, cool, and collected, and those line judges that we're working with that are even just high school students that we've pulled to do lines for a high school match, or that person on the opposite corner for a JC needs this kind of advice to be like, yes, you're nervous, yes, you're stressed and anxious, so do us all. And we have methods and ways of coping with that that we can pass on. Please feel free to take techniques from this conversation, take them to your new up-and-comers who are kind of those little walls of stress and anxiety and new in different ways. and may need those reassuring words, but it's okay, it's going to happen. Here's how we can work through it, so that, you know, as the 18-year-old me who was super stressed and nervous just to blow a whistle, thinking back to her, a lot of this would have helped make me less nervous as I moved forward, acknowledging that, yes, people feel this way, and it's okay, everybody does.
Yeah.
You're not alone on your little island of anxiety. So I hope this was helpful, and whoever goes to Pizza Hut and Dairy Queen, I want to wreck with you.
Thank you, Rachel. So my part is distance education. And that in being, we need to use, when she put her slide up about using technology, I was like, well, we gotta figure out better ways than having to. So my human responsibility is everything up from UC Davis to UC San Diego to U of H. How am I going to make sure my line judges are trained? Yeah, I have a real life, and I'm not coming to, you know, where I live, in the middle of the mountains in SoCal. Yes, we do have mountains in SoCal. Get over it. And snow. How do we do this better? To provide education so that everybody's not leaving their jobs or having to drive 100 million miles to do another meeting. So this is the distance education. I work at a JUCO, so wouldn't be really happy if you were intentionally making tri-line aeroplanes on my corner, although my student athletes would not know. So I actually was certified in distance education because I was teaching at JUCO during the vid. So we had to do that. Oh, I asked you if there was a special button on
There's always a special button.
You didn't use technology, right?
Yes. So we're going to talk about what is distance education, why use distance education, and the future of distance education. And just so you know, because I use my kids all the time. So, what is distance education? Sorry, I had to do the footnote because my little school person. To summarize, distance learning has many advantages over traditional learning and differs significantly from it. It creates a comfortable environment for gaining new knowledge and skills and allows you to meet educational needs of almost every student. This type of learning is not limited by space or time, and it is easily adapted to students with disabilities or certain characteristics. Distance learning allows employees to learn new professions and improve their skills without disrupting their work and daily obligations. Key advantage of distance education is that it gives students access to multiple learning tools using minimal financial resources, because among the great variety of types of distance learning, you can choose the best. Increasing demands on the quality of education, the need for frequent changes and training, the need to adapt our labor market. Our game is constantly changing, so we need to continue to update our stuff. Requirements lead to a significant increase in demand for distance and blended learning. So we need to have different options. We need to create these options. These are my kids. That's my JUCO team. And those are my adorable coaches. You might recognize one of them. Yeah, they're super sweet. Student enrollment. What is the percentage of students enrolled in distance education courses in post-secondary institutions in the fall? In 2021, 59% of 5,831. I actually got my bachelor's and master's online because I didn't want to be in a classroom with dumb people. Flat out.
Is that up a lot from what it was?
Oh yeah, especially
Before
since the
COVID?
vid, yeah. Okay, why use distance education? Students choose the appropriate type of education due to distance, availability or lack of time, ability to attend class, or simply unwilling to be in classrooms. Given the rapid pace of life and our constant shortage of time, humanity needs distance learning as an alternative to the traditional method. These girls are the ones on our team who take online classes. Why? Well, a couple of these girls, are actually double enrolled. They are full-time students at Fullerton Junior College, and they are full-time students at Cal State Fullerton. And student athletes. And they work. They're really awesome. From our website, our mission to support accessible, equitable, innovative, and student-centered instruction in a variety of modalities. My girls will be lucky if they transfer to a four-year, but they're super cute. So we have to start thinking of educating us in another way, flat out, in another way. We've got to make it better. So I asked them, these are their answers. Why hybrid and online classes? Convenience. We had a spelling contest on that. Save gas, because gas in the California part starts with a 5. Out here it starts with a 3. Flexible and less distraction. They made me put less distraction because they said they didn't want me to write, don't be in class with dumb people. So then I go, well, how do you search when you use the interweb? How do you search? And those 3 things were their most important. The Google, the YouTube, the TikTok. I didn't know what WikiHow was. I added Pinterest because if I need a cocktail recipe, that's where I go. And they say the Insta. So these are also their ways of how they do research and learn things. Because I asked them how to fix it, if they had to fix a flat tire, because we had one girl who said she had like 4 flat tires in 1 week. And the one girl said, I just asked my dad. And I'm like, oh, we need to teach you how to change a flat tire. So then I went to the Google search, and the first thing that came up was our PABO thing. Awesome, cool, represent. You have to be a member to get in, right? So how do we teach people who we want to bring into our community how to do language judging, right? And then the next screenshot is the little group of things. Sports Engine has one. I thought that was interesting. It's interesting. And then all these little things you can click on to try and find out. And they're not very informative. So then, when I went to the YouTube, yeah, I know my daughter's sitting back there going, quit saying that YouTube. She's like, she does that crap all the time. So these were my algorithm threw up these 3. So I'm going to play them for you because they're really fun. And then you're going to wonder why people hate line judges and referees. I'm special. Just say yes. It's not.
You sure?
Yeah.
It's just confirming that you want to open.
All right. So I found this one. Yes.
Wow.
Areas do that as well.
That's sitting volleyball, so that's pretty awesome. So this was the top one on the YouTube search. Yeah, we don't do that. Well, you might, but then probably shouldn't be here.
Their flag is out there.
Turn that one off. Okay, so that was the first one that came up in my algorithm. I don't know what I'm looking up online, but that's going to be the first one that comes up, but that was pretty awesome science.
We should do that.
I know, right? Go to the second one. This one was really good. It's got, like, you can tell this, not it. You can tell, okay, it's not just me. Oh, that's good. Yeah, but it's not.
We're going to do line judge jousting.
It is.
And then make a call, man.
Okay, look at how beautiful his graphics and everything, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. Look at his flag, bro.
Wait.
It's
big.
a stick with tape.
It's paper.
What? This guy's got the best flag ever, and he's got a tree.
Whoa.
I don't know what that color is.
That's the antenna.
Is
Yeah,
that it?
International.
that's a variation of the antenna call.
That is, I don't know. None of you do that. Okay.
I like how.
But look at all that fancy, but he had that high-tech flag, right? Okay, oh, this one, by the way, is Dan in here? Okay, so pause it for just a second. I don't think that was
There's
nice.
2 of them open.
But get a pause. Okay, so if you have been to our PABO thing, this is Dan's video. And I'm like, oh, why do I hear Dan and why do I see me?
Public.
That's so not me. So you can hear Dan, right? And then, but Dan's video is like 48 minutes, and I looked, this is 28 minutes. So somebody took it and edited it. It is super good. So if you want to use it and don't want to go onto the PABO website, use the pirated version. It's a half an hour shorter. Yeah, I'm like, well, it says Dan voice, and there's my sorry butt right over there. So you can use Dan's, but that wasn't one of my videos, because my next one is what parents think. No, no, that. Cool. Is my stuff in there? Yeah. That one. There we go. Because for those of you who do club volleyball, if you had children who played club, oh, we have a commercial. Yeah, this is it. And if somebody knows this rule, I'm sorry, but I thought it was hilarious. Here we go. Put this down.
That's how they used to teach me.
Visualize an attack.
That's how they used to teach me in school.
So my concern is, and I've been hand slapped a million times about asking too many questions and why we don't. Why can't this happen? Why do we do it this way? Can't PABO make a YouTube channel and make a bunch of videos that we can give to people so they can kind of figure out what it's really like to be a line judge? And then we can bring those people into our universe? Why can't we do that?
We can.
We can.
With that second video.
So why don't we? But my question is, why don't we? Why don't we? What are we afraid of? Do we own the exclusivity rights of how to be officials among judges? Or shouldn't the volleyball community, as who we are as volleyball humans, because we share a lot, sharing is caring. Why can't we put something out to draw people in instead of things that make us look ridiculous?
Have you asked that question, Rena, and did you get an answer?
I yet no, we've never done it that way.
I got an idea.
Yes.
I'm going out there on this one. How much of it is egos?
Yeah.
People want their way to be the right way, and they don't want to bend because then it means they were wrong. So
That is
instead of all conforming to one, nobody wants to drop the ego and work as a true team.
I would agree extensively. But I'm the
Sorry,
crazy old lady who lives on the top of a mountain. And why ask those? So you young people need to figure out how to make it better. How do we make it better? Because the volleyball universe in itself is so inclusive. We're freaking amazing. We love everyone. And it doesn't matter why. And you know, in the volleyball universe, you're separated by 1 degree. There's no Kevin Bacon 7. You can walk into the Walmart, and if you see somebody with volleyball, you're like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so. It's 1 degree of separation. So why don't we take that to officiating? Because most of us have played, coached, been a parental unit of a player or a coach. Why don't we make it more inclusive? Because then you get me trying to find line judges in little Bakersfield, for God's sakes, and why do you want, if you live there, sorry, I know none of you do.
Sorry.
Okay? Well, and then I have to come off my mount because I can't find a human being who wants to go to Bakersfield. And I gotta bring my old lady butt out on the corner. And then if I squat too low that one time, that right knee doesn't like that anymore, and I have to use the flag to stand up. I'm not doing it. We need to find more people.
Yes.
Okay? The future of distance education. We have to, whatever, read the first one. We have to include learning, teaching, research, communication, design, management, which I also think is a huge part of it. Nobody wants to, we all do this stuff for free. Or maybe a quarter an hour. But we've got to develop a way to continuously update and provide means for people to look and learn. So it's a constantly changing role played or not played, but the capacity to develop frameworks and initiatives. We have to get better at this. It has to work. These are my 4 young ladies. And these are the ones who aren't only just JUCO student athletes, they also coach. They coach club, they coach high school. But these are my girls that are going to be either on a sideline when you're officiating, or they're going to be coaching, or some of them want me to teach them how to line judge so that they can, get a 15th job. Okay, actually, I'm making all of my girls take the line judge video and test on the 19th. Coach, I'm like, that way you can yell at the person and not me. So these are the people that you need to do it for, because they're super cute. So then I asked them, because in high school and club, it's pretty much another kid on the team. And, they got their phone and their Spanx and they're checking their, Instas and stuff. So the impact on the coaches for the youth, what they wanted short videos to teach and practice, because they don't need their 12-year-olds getting yelled at by some dad to call in or out, or, God! Because I'm the referee who yells back, are you really yelling at a 12-year-old? That's me. And they suggested 10, is that my timer? So 10-second YouTube shorts. One girl said, we need to do shorts because I have ADHD. I'm like, oh, are you diagnosed with that, or you just don't care to go through things fast? And they had to make sure, I called them a scrolling generation, not a swiping generation, because that's dating. All right, ooh. So I have 3 quotes by Albert. I actually put my hair because we have the same hairstyle. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. If you always, here's hers. If you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. And then the measure of intelligence is the ability to change. You guys got to make a difference. I'm too old. People don't like me asking questions because I call them out. I guess maybe that's the follow-up. There we go. So, make a difference. How do we make a difference? Where's the guy that did that awesome video the other day? Was he?
That was so good.
Yeah, right? That was super sick. So why don't we do things like that? Why don't we do things like that? 2 YouTube channels are free. I made one for during the vid. I put my little Tabata exercise things on there and I do rotation boards, right? It's there. It doesn't cost anything but time. How do you guys make a difference? There you go.
Last name is Buller.
Not Bueller?
Bueller.
Oh, Bueller!
It's all right. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, but I'm old. I think it's funny.
I'm sure. My name is Anthony Buller. I'm from Denver area. I started playing volleyball about 30 years ago. Freshman year in college, I played 5 years of club volleyball. And then I officially got into officiating in 01 in Kansas, the University of Kansas in Big 12. And I was there for 5 years until I moved back to Colorado, and I've been in the Colorado region where we have 61 schools, 5 D2 schools, a bunch of JUCOs. So we have a lot of area to see each other, refs, line judges, things like that. The last 4 years, I've been the director of line judge training for our region. So come in contact with anywhere between 100 over the years or more, 150 different line judges that come in and out and stay and grow. So it's been fun. And so we have a lot of influence. So today's going to be about influence for me. But first we're going to do a little exercise. So I need everybody to stand up, please.
Yes.
Because your butt's probably hurt.
He's taking
You gotta wake up.
He's taking my thunder.
You can stretch real quick.
Jason, you see that video?
All right, so I want to see some experience level here. So everybody that has line judged 5 years or more, is like that old dance, weddings. 5 years or more line judging experience, keep standing. So less than 5 years, sit down.
Sit down.
If you have been line judging over 10 years or more, stay standing.
Wait. No.
If you've been line judging over 15 years, stay standing.
I should have been the 10-year. I should have
If you've been line
stayed
judging over 20 years, stay
Definitely not.
standing. I'm in this too. Okay, we're all over 20 years. Anybody over 25?
It's like it's weird to think.
Yeah.
No, I can do it. Don, how many years?
82.
29th or 30th.
Okay. So as you can see, there's a lot of experience, a lot of years. I'm 22 years myself, D1 level line judging. I love line judging. Okay. So this is all about how to be an effective influencer. So I want you to pick up on that. I've already done some things today that you may or may not have realized is influence. If you've talked to me today or anything. So when you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk, right? So I'm a storyteller. Thank you, sorry. A few years ago, these are some examples. A few years ago, I was working a match at a local NAI school that does not have a program anymore. And my partner and I, we came out there and we're all ready and we're going through the first set. And after the first set, my partner says, "Hey man, this is just Johnson Wales, relax." And it's like, no, this is what I do all the time. Like, hey, no matter what the level is, I bring my A game. And this is who I am. Now we had a chuckle and we'll still laugh about that to this day. But that's who I am and that's what I do. So I'm gonna bring my A game all the time. Another story to piggyback that, I just met someone back in April at a training. And that person called me just the other day. And we talked about line judging and things like that. And it was just the influence of what that person had learned in April. And then what we have gained over the summer. And then what we're bringing into the season. And those kind of relationships are huge. And when people help each other out, whether it's with little points of interest here or there at a match, helping somebody with anxiety, that's influence, and that's helping each other train, okay? A couple questions that I want you to think about as we talk about the rest of what my title is about. How would you grade yourself at being an effective influencer? And the other question is, why do you like being a line judge or a line judge trainer? I coach and I work with kids. I've been working with kids for 30 years. And I coach volleyball, basketball, soccer. It's just in me to have energy and to bring it. So it comes natural for me. So some of you might have to dig in deep, or maybe you don't. I enjoy it. But some of you might have a job where you don't enjoy it as much, so you got to bring that energy, that influence when you come to train. So, title, Influence to Impact for a Win. That was a cap, that should be a capital win. And that's an acronym, okay? Now, influence, which I always turn to positive, because if we're going to influence, we might as well be positive about it. Someone who inspires, guides, or affects the actions of others in a positive way. 2, having an impact, which is to have a strong effect on someone moving forward. And this is what we want to do. Now, for a win, well, all the players, all the teams want to win. Why don't the freaking officials want to win? I want to win every time I go out on that court. I'm going to get a freaking win. Okay? Now, A, acknowledgement. The action of showing that one has noticed someone or something. W, word choice. Choose the words that are meaningful to your individual, your trainee. Intentional, done on purpose, deliberate. And then N, next steps. What kind of support are you moving forward, and give direction to what you want to see or have them work on. All right, now I'm going to need some participation. We're going to dig deeper into acknowledgement. So what are some ways that we can acknowledge our line judges?
Eye contact.
Eye contact. Very good. Thumbs up. I like it. The head nod with it. Yep.
I always love when they do like the little clap next to them.
Very good. I do like
Can I
that.
ask something?
Yes.
Because I've noticed the thumbs up, I've noticed this, I'm more the head nod type. I worry sometimes about giving a thumbs up or this because I feel like I'm displaying to the coaches that I might not have necessarily believed in my line judges, and now I'm reconfirming, okay, you got this, rather than a head nod, you got this, we're already on the same page, we're moving on.
It could be perceived.
So I'm just curious how other people perceive it, because like you said, you like that, and that's something that I would have needed to know because I never would have given that to you. Or the thumbs up, I just wouldn't have done that. I would do the head nod every time, like, we got this, yeah, nice call.
I just think it's like any form of confirmation and not necessarily saying like, oh, I didn't agree with you and you got the right call. That was a fantastic touch that you just saw. Great job.
That is a great conversation.
Yeah, it is.
That I wasn't even going for here.
Sorry.
No, it's good.
Because and my main focus here is on us as line judge trainers, training other line judges. So I'm not talking on court referee line judge. All good. I like where your head's at. Not ready.
No.
Adam.
I'm just gonna say real quick, when I work with Daphne Nelson's, Ryan McDowell's of the world, they will usually just do it down here. They'll just put their arm down here and give you a thumbs up. It's not like that.
But yeah, I want your mind to be as we're line judges trying to train other line judges and build each other line judges up. So that's where I want our lane to be.
What was your question? Now that you're regulating my grade, I was also thinking referee. So the question was?
The question, acknowledgement. What are some ways we can acknowledge our line judges? And I'm not speaking as a referee to a line judge. I'm speaking as a line judge trainer to other line judges, our peers.
Okay.
Our peers.
Okay.
In between sets, just talking one-on-one with your other line judge, just saying like, hey, that was a really good call. I'm so glad you had that. Like, just reconfirming with them in that little in-between sets.
Yes.
I think my favorite thing anymore is like all of this stuff, but when I get done with a match, I'm done with my post game, I'm now checking my phone, and somebody's like, hey, just saw your match, you did a great job, or way to go grab that, right? I already have all my own personal thoughts that I'm not at a certain point in the game, you can't forget TVs are on, personally anymore, because that's the match.
Yeah.
You're done with the post game, and in that moment you're like, oh my God, I was so big, but apparently I rocked it right there on TV, and no one has a clue that I was shaking in my boots.
That is true.
So that's always a nice thing.
The other
Yes.
thing is using headsets when you're training, especially if you're at a scrimmage or at the actual training and they're taking sprints on corners.
Right.
The headsets are amazing because you give them just real time,
Yes.
yeah or no or whatever, but just keeping them confident in what they're learning.
And some things, yes.
I love making eye contact before us going back to our corners and also between the rallies when something funny happens, somebody gets hit by a ball or they do a really good job of maybe running up the sideline, getting that
when there's
antenna
no
ball, anything like that. Always try to between rallies, try to make eye contact and we give them a smile or just a gesture of like, good job, so trying to go corner to corner.
Yes, very good, very good. I love this. I just don't want Wendy to cut me off. Well, yes.
When we were together, us all, I remember this. You're really good at pointing out little things that I was doing well, but then also like, now try this or do this. I think it's important to point out good things before giving critique. Some people go in direct critique. It's like, okay, like it's working. So yeah, acknowledging positive things, but then helping with other things.
Awesome, awesome. One more.
So I don't know if this is just like a SoCal thing, like, because we've all our groups, like in our areas, we've all worked with each other multiple times. We all know each other fairly well in our areas. And like, I know with our group, like they mentioned, when you get hit, like for me, we'll look across the court anytime, or we'll look around the players and we'll start laughing at each other.
Yep.
Just to kind of break up the stress and anxiety and kind of help also reset and reminding, hey, we're human, we're good, we got this, we're going on. I mean, it happens to all of us, regardless of how hard we get it.
I wish I had to tally how many times I've
Something like that.
Right.
Yes.
So I go the other way. So I'm more of a person that's I want people to come to me and tell me what I need to improve more than somebody patting me on the back. I don't need any more pats on the back. I just need whatever I need to improve the next time around. That's just like I said, I go the other way.
Sure. Well, a few things that I jot down are just saying, good movement, great anticipation. Okay? This is acknowledgement and what you somebody I want to tell. Hey, James, I mean, nice, clean touch call. Great job. Like that alone, he's going to be like, hey, thanks. All right? Way to know your protocols. Sometimes we work with people that don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So, hey, good job. Thanks for not looking like an idiot out there. You word it differently. Word choice is next. Great job. Nice work. High five. Knuckles. Great job, Wendy. Way to go. Those little things help.
Yes.
All right. W. Word choice. Know your audience. New line judges compared to seasoned line judges. Okay? I will start with one. Get into position for that white set. Or you may have to move quickly up your sideline or your end line to get a position to see if the ball is inside the antenna. Okay? New people may not understand the words that you're using. Does anybody else have an example of something that maybe you've heard and you didn't get, and you're like, what did that guy just say? What did she say? Anybody? Aubrey.
I do know what a pancake is, but if you just say, hey, so if you see that they're going for the pancake, they might not have any idea what's about to happen.
Yes, true. So you have to explain what that is.
We call our outside pin hitters, we have a bunch of synonymous terms that we all use interchangeably off of right side pin. Like, so you just throw at it and you're like, guess which hitter that is?
Yeah. So a lot of people, Wendy just coming in from basketball, basketball, volleyball. Oh, gee, what did you just say? Pin what? This way, right? You may have experienced that and like, slow down.
So Rena, I'm not gonna pick on you, but I'm gonna kind of pick on you.
Okay.
So I am somebody, I've been working like 20 years, but I did not play volleyball. So when I get official, especially when I was new, about like zone 6, like, oh, they're hitting zone 6, that meant absolutely nothing to me. Or like just position, strategy of defense, and like, oh, they're in rotation 3. That's like when I'm learning how to be a referee. Again, meant absolutely nothing. So also understanding someone's background, that if they're a player, they're gonna know what that is, or if they're a coach or whatever, but for us that never grew up or played in the game, we have no idea what zones are, rotations, any of that.
True, which I'll hit in a minute, but yes.
A softball term is like a short hop, and some of the players that don't get their hand flat for a pancake, it's a fist, and so you can't always see if it was like floor fist and then up, or if it was fist and up. And so telling high school lines judges, like, okay, I need to know if it was floor and then up, or if it was completely up. So short hop is something I've used.
Okay. Anybody said beat the ball to the line?
Yeah. Get your ass to line.
But who knew what that was when you first started?
I find it easier to train the younger female lines people than the older ones that transition from basketball, simply because they grew up with the sport 9 times out of 10. So you can use the lingo. So it's exactly what he had said, knowing their background, because sometimes I'd say something and they'd look at me and smile and nod, and I'm like, you have no idea what I mean.
So some of these things we say, we have to move on. Really? All right, we're gonna move fast.
Take your time. I think I'm next. Take your
Intentional. Intentional. So what are some things that we can do when you're training that is intentional? Okay? We've talked about it already. Look them in the eye. Give a good handshake. Hey, I'm Anthony. What's your name?
I'm Megan.
Megan, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time today. Okay, so when we're training, we're being very intentional about their time and them putting in effort here today. Okay? And I want one good other idea of intentionality.
I don't know if this is right, but not giving too much. Like, let's work on that as like something like really focused.
Yeah, no.
Like just like little bites at a time.
Yes. And I'm Rachel.
I would say pre-matching, really intentional pre-matching beforehand. I think I've gone really a long time without that before I ran into another line from a completely different area. And it's the first time when it really sat me down to like, when are we going out, like time by time? That's what they needed.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. And doing that in a match, pre-match, and then knowing that in a training when we talk to line judges, this is what you need to do. Another one when we're training them is, hey, did you play volleyball? Cal, did you play volleyball?
A little bit.
Okay. What other sports have you played or officiated?
Basketball, baseball.
Okay, well, I can show you how some of those things can transition and help you be a line judge. Okay, so there's these ways you can figure out how to use what they've done to be a better line judge. And you can use those cross sports. Really quick. Next steps. And next steps for you as a trainer or to give to your trainees. Anybody have an idea?
Like, what can they do? Like, continue.
As a trainer, what can you do for other languages? Brian.
I would say coming in as somebody that was not part of the volleyball world, it was not very clear what needed to be done for the next step, or even how to seek out training from people. And so it's like, oh, you should do this. I'm like, oh, great. How the hell do I do that? You know. So I was able to find people like you, which was great, but that's not always evident, or it's not always super clear, or where that can be done or something.
I think be open. Like I've had other line judges who are new say like, hey, if I send you my schedule, can you come and like watch me at a match, and like, you know, in between sets we can discuss stuff. So even being open, like even if it's your one day of the week you don't have a match or something, like giving back to them because they're going to be coming up.
And just getting them connected with opportunities at whatever level of schools and stuff.
So in light of, yes.
I buddy up with that too on the reverse side of it and say, hey, you know, I got these matches too if you're available, or I know these people will help you out too. I'll suggest contacting them to find out what their schedule is so you can go watch them see live time what it's supposed to look like.
See this acknowledgement, this is, I'm acknowledging. That's awesome.
I mean, in my area, so much ties to what you said yesterday when you were on the panel. It's hard. My lines people don't want to volunteer their time. They don't want to do anything without pay. Everything's about how much am I getting paid?
Yeah.
What is my compensation? And a greater portion of them use it as a stepping stone to officiate. And how many times I've had to explain lining and officiating are completely different worlds, completely different jobs. Scorekeeping is completely different. Just because you have a small group that can do or have experience doing all of them, it's not the right job for every single official out there.
True.
In light of time, I'll move on. But mentorship, yes. Either you mentor or you ask them find somebody that can be your mentor. And formulate a plan to work on drills and to do that, which you mentioned. So we've all been chosen for a reason, because the qualities that we all have. So please go use that. I hope I influenced you a little bit today. Now let's go out and train for a win.
Currently out in Tennessee with the SEC, but I started here, Western 5, Pac-12, and I miss it. I miss it dearly because, as Joan says, this is the only group that does this, and it is awesome. Yes, so I got into volleyball because of my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter played club ball, she played school ball, and I wanted to interact with her and be knowledgeable and help her out in any way that I could as a father. So I got into volleyball in 2015, retired military after 20 years in 2016, so I thought my career field as air transportation and having signals and marshalling and all that stuff was fantastic for officiating. Yes. So that video, I love that training video. I tell you what, I don't like standing like this.
The international.
It's not good. It's not good. So Lacey, Washington, all right, 2015. I joined with a friend. We go to Tacoma Pierce County, TPC BOB. Training with Red Robin Buck, okay? Because those that do not know, there's Blonde Robin, there's Red Robin, and there's Brunette Robin. Robin Buck, Tina Priest, and Terry Wood, right, were my 3 trainers. And that was all under Mark Blau, which was the assignment for TPC BOB. What an experience. What a crew. What a family. Mine isn't on there, but mine's the 3 T's, experiencing the 3 T's with family. And that is time, that is training, and that is traveling. All of them linked together to say this, to say it easiest, right? So 2015, starting my career in volleyball, starting as a line judge. I played in the military, but in the military, your front zone, your back zone. You don't cross a line. That's all I knew playing volleyball, because I was a big softball guy. I was a big football guy. Volleyball, I love sports. So I tried it intramurally through the squadrons, and I loved it. And wanted to get involved again for the oldest daughter. It was at the tail end of the season. I got to do some high school matches, which was fun. 2016, starting my 2nd year. Well, I'll back up. I went a little too quick there in reference to time. Mark Blau said, hey, the NWAC. Is anybody familiar with the NWAC? Big Walmart Northwest. Right? So it's right there in Tacoma in the convention center. Mark Blau said, hey, you need to come out here because you're military. I love your signals, blah, blah, blah. And I got introduced to a Chris Clemens. Does anybody know Chris Clemens? There's a few head shakes out there. I know you guys do. I got to do a couple matches. And this gentleman was standing behind me a little uncomfortably. He came up to me and he goes, hey, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. He's like, I'm Chris Clemens. I was like, okay. I have no idea who you are. He says, well, I work with the Pac-12. And if you do not have goals or aspirations to line judge in the Pac-12, you need to add that. I was like, okay, enough said. 2016, only 2nd year. Put you on the spot. How I got into the Pac-12 was due to an injury of a family member, Megan, all right? She hurt her knee. Once that happened, I got a call from Chris Clemens. And Chris says, so, are you ready? Am I ready for what? Are you ready to go to the Pac-12? I was like, really? He's like, yes, we just had a line judge go down, and we need someone to fill their shoes. So there I was. That was my time. That was my opportunity. Not the best, right? To fill someone's shoes. Had no idea who she was until club ball the next year. Because she's hurt, she's out of the game, I didn't get to see her. Club match, daughter's playing, she's reffing, and I'm like, who's this? Oh, that's Megan. I'm like, Megan? So I go up and talk to her. I was like, you Megan? You do volleyball? Pac-12? Megan, Triggs? Put it together. And from there, we had, I thought, an excellent bond, an excellent relationship, because due to her, due to her going down, put me in a new spot that I didn't think I was ready for. But with Robin, Tina, Terry, this pretty much whole table that I grew up with in volleyball, I was there. Training. I feel that every match is a training opportunity. Not just going to the clinics, because you learn. I don't officiate or line judge for everybody, right? That I know. Because now in Tennessee, I got a whole new volleyball family. And again, different than out here. So I take every single match as a training opportunity, because there's going to be the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s that are out there that have different ideas and different experiences and different ways to maneuver and officiate through the game. Traveling. Here I am. I'm in Tennessee now. Get to travel out here, to come out here and speak and talk about my experience. The family portion, Miss Joan had reached out, hearing the sad news that I was leaving Washington and headed to Tennessee. She reached out to Denise Penskoffer, SEC current assigner, when I got there in 2021. I was welcomed with open arms. I had matches that I didn't think I was going to have just getting to the area. I was nominated for Division I and Division II postseason. Definitely didn't think that was going to happen. And last year, I went to Clemson for my national rating as a line judge. And that experience in itself was phenomenal. 7 other line judges. We had 4 referees. It was great, because communicating, acknowledging other line judges, talking with them. During that experience, we had a lot on the panel yesterday for the advanced certification, talking to each other. You're going to have your one-on-one situations. Share that with the other line judges as well. Don't keep that to yourself. Help them progress and get better. We had all of our line judges make it. That was awesome. And 3 out of our 4 referees made it. So stay in communication with them. Stay in communication with everybody. Everybody that I officiate with in a match, once I work with them, I put it in my phone. I put them in the phone with the match and location that I first met them, that I first interacted with them. Because to me, being military, being in this world that we are in need of more officials, it is important to stay together as a family. So, everybody in here that is in here right now, right? Please stand up. Nothing bad. I'm not going to go do that training stuff. There's no way that I'm going to be able to interact with every single one of you, but I would love to add more people to the family. So everybody here, especially my Washington family, everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being a part of my family. That's it. Thank you. The question.
You know the question.
So, I think I've already said it.
Say it again.
As far as the training side, right? Listen to everybody. Now, you're going to get a whole bunch of different things. To do it this way, to do it that way. Pick and choose. Right? Once you advance and you go up through the ranks, you're there for a reason. And they said that on the panel as well. Be you. Don't do something different. I watched a lot of video. I ended up talking the other half into getting a big TV in the bedroom so I could sit in the bedroom and watch video. I watched, because when I was in Washington, we had a lot of my other fellow line judges go on past round 1 and round 2. And I wanted to find out why I wasn't going past round 1 and round 2. And a lot of it, I had to be demilitarized, right? Because my signals were just bang, or whatever, right? Yes, I don't know. Because that's not a signal, right? I just got crazy. Yeah, my bad. But just talking with your line judges, being a part of them, being part of their growth, learning from them. Bless you. That's about it. Just continuous communication.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one other question.
Okay.
If you could tell your younger line judge self a piece of advice, what would you tell yourself? What you know now?
What I know now. Why did I get the additional question? Be a sponge. Be a sponge. Don't ever be bigger than your own shoes. Learn.
I like that. I like that right there.
My biggest thing, I think line judges, we all know that it's a 3-count call, right? When I first started, when I was down and I was making that out call, I would make it kind of like a 2-count. I would come up and then go up. The biggest thing that I saw from other line judges advancing is that they always made it a 3-count call. It was 1, 2, or 1, 1, 1, 2, and then the eyes. So always a 3-count. That was the biggest thing that I picked up. So communication and be a sponge.
Thank you.
I'm looking back after playing college ball in New Jersey. And I've been refereeing club at that point, and all the referees in my area went, "You've graduated, you're coming back, come to this gym on this day, you're gonna referee high school. We need more referees." And I went, okay. And then I was at the clinic for high school, and I said, at this day, on this date, at this time, show up to this place and go learn to be a line judge. And I went, okay, I'll go learn. 21-year-old was like, cool, I like line judging. I liked it in club. I think the referee that took me seriously when I was a little club player doing lines was super into it, and they were like, yes, you're good. Keep going, kid.
Yes.
And I went to my very first college clinic, and nobody told me that our college clinic was super late in the year, so we wouldn't get assignments necessarily. And I went to the clinic, and they're like, okay, like, you'll find out if you get any college matches, and I got none, and I was like, wow, I suck. I'm awful at this job. I'll go back to high school. And so I didn't go to the next clinic because it was like, clearly I suck. I didn't get any college assignments, didn't get any JC, anything. And I wish somebody had told me at that point, like, it's okay, you'll get there. This is how we function in our region. So I was like, yeah, I'm really awful at this. I'll keep doing high school. And I think I would have loved to have been able to tell my younger self, you'll be okay. Don't be a little nervous wreck about like being a terrible line judge. You'll get there eventually. So that's what I would have told my younger self. That definitely continue to learn and just be open to it all.
Thank you for sharing that.
I don't know that there is an answer. I would say that was one of my concerns. Why do we do trainings in August when I already made all my assignments in May? Because now I'm dangling a carrot that's not edible. That's not okay. So somehow I'll be a pain in the ass and fix that. Younger self. Just earlier self. And I heard what you were saying, and I'm concerned about, so Norma Carr, this was from Norma, because she's awesome. So we're at Stanford, and so I'm the competitive person for me, and I'm like, oh, okay, somebody told me I was important twice, I don't know why. And then I'm at the next year, And we're at Stanford, and I didn't get the second match of that weekend. And I'm like, holy crap, what did I do wrong? And Norma came and sat next to me. I'm like, Norma, dude, how bad did I screw up that I didn't get the golden ticket? You know, Willy Wonka doesn't want me to go to the chocolate factory. She goes, it's not you. So it's not always about what you did or didn't do wrong. It may just not be your turn.
Absolutely.
Okay? So you guys gotta know that it just may not be your turn.
Not yet.
Because there's gods up there and they, you know, they make choices for reasons. We just don't understand the pathways sometimes. We don't. So please just know, in the big picture, you're going to be important for those kids on the court. And is it really, we talked about egos, right? Is it really about getting that match, or how many matches did you help out with those kids? So, yeah, it's nice to get a golden ticket, okay? But that's really not what most of us do most of the time. So what's the bigger picture? So do the best for the kids on the court, because that is more impactful than getting a golden ticket.
I'll make it quick. I like what Jason said. That's the only thing I was gonna say. Be a sponge and just take it all in. And you know, speaking from the influence part, you're learning everything. And when I worked with Henry Chen about 7 years ago, and I worked with him at Penn State, and I was like, okay, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to keep going. And I want to take in Dan. I want to take in Henry. I want to take wherever you are in the country, all these different people you work with. Take it all in, no matter how many years I had been doing this. So.
I'll just share one of mine. Mine's more of a technical one, coming from different mechanics. And it was that touch that goes off, so it becomes a touch, or if it comes back, it's an out. For some reason, that mechanic is completely opposite from 25 years of muscle memory. So I'd be like, yeah. It was just, I couldn't get it for anything. And as hard as I try, it would just still be a challenge. And one day, one of our folks goes, think of it this way. If it hits the block and it comes back, you only have two choices. It's going to be in or out, basically. If it doesn't come back, it's going to be a touch. And that wording was like, oh my God. Like, it's like, boom, like all the lights went on, and then I could resonate with that wording, which then from that point on made me able to call that play without going through the whole process of like, okay, wonderful black, wonderful. You didn't have to think about that anymore. So mine was more of a technical thing. And since then, when I teach the younger officials, I use that same vernacular because if it helped me, I always say, when one person gets better, we all get better. And so share your knowledge. You learned a lot of stuff today. You got a lot of good information, lots of experience. You gave a lot of experience. Teach others what you know, because eventually you're going to work on the floor with them. And like we talked about, I don't want to be the one standing on the 10, going up there 10 times for 10 challenges. When we get better, when one gets better, we all get better. So Dan's come in the room, and Dan's going to wrap up our meeting. His words of wisdom.
Hey, so I'm going to point at you, and you're going to say one thing that you took away from it. It's got to be like 10 words or less. Ready, James? Statistics. Don't know what that means, but that's good. Just kidding. No, I do know what that means.
Honestly, just soaking everything up and being open to all the different feedback you're getting and being willing to let some stuff go.
So then, letting some stuff go. So the next time you're on the court giving some training, what are you going to focus on? What's one thing you want to take away from here? You're like, I'm going to do that in my next training.
Asking questions, seeing where they come from and where they're at.
Okay, it's good to know where they're coming from, because you could be talking to AV over here, and he's like, I know what I'm doing, and we're going through this is how you hold the flag, we don't want to do that type of stuff, so know your audience. Okay, you.
Communication is key.
Okay, in what way?
Learning your pros and cons of how to match win, which you win on.
Excellent. Okay, back corner.
Anxiety, yes.
That's really important, and that's really good. All of these things that you have talked about, and I realize you all have hopefully something that, oh my gosh, that's great. One thing that I want to suggest is, because these are training the trainers in theory, you're going to go back and be like, you're going to share your wisdom and these nuggets that you have. Don't underestimate the power of being on a court with the ball, with the flag in hand. Okay? For years, it seemed like a lot of the training was, video, read the manual. Now we're a lot more multi-dimensional with all these different types of things that we can consider. By the show of hands, how many are 25 years or younger? Raise your hand. Raise them, come on, raise them. 25 years of age or younger, raise your hand. Okay, between 26 and 35.
Yeah.
36 to 50. Is there anyone over that age? Right, not me, but I'm not. Okay, so you notice the differences in generations. There are studies that statistically show that people learn differently. It can't be the same every year. Consider the age, consider the gender, consider the background, consider the size. It's all different. And so when you go back home and you're providing this training and you've got the computer and you've got your flag and you get onto the court, just factor all of those things in, because some actually learn better watching. Some actually learn better reading. Heaven forbid, that is the worst. I hate reading. Does anyone like reading? Don't answer that. That's why I like it. Okay, so the time's up. The time has been spent very well. When you walk out, I'm going to invite you all to do one thing. As soon as you take that step out that door, don't forget what you just heard. Either write it down, snuggle up next to somebody and say, hey, what was it that you did and what do you like here? Yes, that type of snuggling, okay? But just write down those things, because believe it or not, next week or the next day or the next month, you're going to be giving a clinic or a training, or you're going to be on the court during a preseason or a scrimmage, and you have to be able to take this stuff. Supposedly, you're the best of the best and you're now here to train. That's scary to some because you have to actually teach it. So really quickly, one last question. How many have been teaching and training line judging for more than 20 years? Raise your hand. How many have been how many have actually done teaching and training of line judges for more than 20 years? Okay? Are you shy about it? Don, put it up there. I'm saying that because these few have experience. How many are in your first 5 years of doing this training? Okay, so lean on those that have experience. Those that have experience, lean on those that are new. They have fresh eyes, fresh ideas, and fresh concepts in the way they teach the stuff. Wendy, thanks for, did we all give Wendy a round of applause?